Welcome back, everyone, to some more Fields of Glory Empires with our Dacia campaign, episode 2 of the series. Let's go ahead and get started. We were ready to go on to turn 2. There was a lot going on. I think the first episode was like 40 minutes of just going over everything, but I think we're ready to finally start. There's a lot to this game, you know, just like any other grand strategy game. So I think I've pretty much done everything I want to do for the first turn. I think we're ready to go. So let's go ahead and generate turn 2. So the game is literally going to process the next turn, and it's going to go ahead and put us in our battle here with the Celtic Independent, basically a rebel group here to the north of us. So that's around 26% of the processing turn. We can go ahead and view the report. We can skip the battle, or we can actually view the battle. And I'd like to view the battle so that way you guys can see it. Plus, this is actually going to be a pretty crazy battle. The terrain is a plain, which actually has a frontage of 12, so we have 8 units to 7. That could be kind of ugly. But we'll see how well we can do regardless. So frontage being like how many units you can have at the front line. So we're going to have all 8, whilst the enemy's going to have all 7. Eventually, if you can maximize the frontage, so you have 12 units up in the front, then you'll be able to overpower your enemy if they're not covering their frontage. Basically, you can like flank them and stuff. So frontage is extremely important, but I think since we're both not covering the front, we shouldn't have to worry too much. We also have a lower combat power than the enemy here, but I think we'll still be all right. So let's go ahead and view the battle. So here's our army down here, and the enemy army up front. Now there's nothing here in particular that we actually control. We're literally just watching the computer do the battle. Now, if you're familiar with Field of Glory or Field of Glory 2, then you'll know that you can actually take Field of Glory Empire games and you can import them into those programs, and you can actually play the battles out yourself, which is kind of cool. But for us, we'll just be letting the computer do all the battling, well as we essentially just watch and see how it goes. So we'll hit start battle. First and foremost is the ranged phase, and you can see that they're targeting one of our units here as we target 2 of theirs. All right, and nothing actually happened from that range phase. So now we're going into the actual combat phase. We've got the Dacian heavy infantry here fighting the enemy's heavy infantry. We both have a combat rating of 5, but they do have the 2 for fresh, 0 for recruit. So we're actually 5 and 5. So basically how this works is, consider it like, I don't know, it's like it uses dice to essentially decide the battle outcomes. And so it takes, you know, your combat rating and puts it here, and then your how many rolls you get. And they're actually going to get 2 different rolls, whereas we get 1. So this could be kind of bad, but we'll see how it goes. No, I'm sorry, this is our heavy infantry, this is theirs. So actually we get 2 dice to their 1, and that is because, let's see, we get a base dice plus a leader rating. So our leader rating gives us the additional dice. He's got the 1 here, the offense rating. So that's our additional dice. What this will basically do if we hit play. Ooh, we actually lost that, but only by 1. Thank God. But what it basically does is it rolls these dice, and then it selects the highest, pairs it up, and gives you your total, and that's how much damage is done based off the offset. It kind of reminds me a little bit like Risk, if you've ever played the board game Risk. So basically what happened is they rolled a 4, we rolled a 3 and a 2. 3 was the highest, so the 2 is negated, it's discarded as it says there, and the 3 is selected. That gave us a total of 8, whilst their 4 gave them a total of 9, so they did 1 point of damage to us. And it just goes on with the different forces here. So it's 3 and 3, so we're pretty equal with these enemy forces here. And same thing, we're going to get an additional die because of our leader. In this time, a lot better numbers. So we've got ourselves a high of 8, whilst they've only got a 2. That was an offset of 6, so we did 6 damage to them. That actually exhausted and killed their unit. You can see that there's some points here. Every army here has an effectiveness and hits, so you're basically offsetting their effectiveness and hits. That's their life, essentially, the hearts there. So getting a 6 actually burned out their effectiveness and burned out their hits and killed them entirely. So next, these warriors here, 3 and 3, so we're equal. So it's going to be a pretty equal match kind of nervous. I hope we pull it off. The extra dice roll is going to be our saving grace, I think, for a lot of this. All right, perfect. So another excellent take there. We did 5 damage. You actually saw there was 2 numbers there, and that's what I was trying to explain earlier. So there was a 3 and a 2. So the 2 was them taking 2 hits to their effectiveness, and then the remaining 3 was done to their hits or their life. And since they only had 2 lives, they died. All right, next on the list, we've got, a 1 and a 2. So our slingers versus this militia group. Going to be tricky. We still get the extra die. Hopefully we'll get a nice high number to offset. There we go. So you can see we got an 11 and an 8 that did 3 damage. We took 1 off their effectiveness and 1 off of their hits. For whatever reason, it didn't do the additional damage. There could be a reason that I don't know. Let's see. 2 here. They got 6 plus 2. That was 8 and 11. So I have no idea why that happened. Some of these mechanics I'm still trying to learn and understand. So hits -1, effectiveness -1, skirmisher, duel using defense rating, combat rating 2, total rating 2, effectiveness 1. So maybe just because of our combat rating or something like that. I'm sure there's more into it, and I'll probably learn more as we continue to play. All right, so let's keep going through these here. Finally, heavy infantry going against somebody that we stand a chance against. And it's 6 and a 12. Very, very good. All right, let's keep going. 12 and an 11, so not as good. We only took 1 of his effectiveness off. 3 and a 3 again. An 11 and a 9. So a hit point and an effectiveness. Oh, we've got some extra slingers, though, so this is nice. A 10 and a 4. That was excellent. So we took them out. Now what's going to happen is the enemy... You can see where the front line comes into effect. So as soon as you get more frontage than the enemy, you're able to start ganging up on units. And this is going to be very critical moving on. I mean, you know, having an outnumbered army definitely can be the difference between winning and losing, even if your units are more superior, just because you get ganged up on in situations like this. Now that we've taken all these different units out, these extra units that were on the front line are now going to start coming in and attacking from the sides. So it's just gonna start escalating. It's gonna go downhill for our enemy here. And now, since this unit is locked in combat, they can no longer perform a ranged attack, but we can still perform range because we've got units that are not locked in combat because they killed their units that they were locked with. Also, you can see that these units kind of like their actual, I guess you would call it animation. Looks like they're kind of wary. That's because we've taken their effectiveness down, so it's almost like they're broken as a unit. In fact, you can see that they're kind of set to retreat. It looks like all these units are set to retreat, so I don't know if they'll run. Yep, it looks like they've essentially retreated. They've given up. So we won the battle, and we didn't lose any units. Awesome. So we can view the report here and see how that all went. They had 1 unit that retreat, or 2 units that were able to retreat. The rest were killed. And we didn't lose any units at all, so it was a very excellent victory. It'll continue processing the rest of the turn now for us and the AI. Actually, processing our turn, then it'll process the AI right here. Boom. And everybody is processed. Now, this screen is extremely important, so bear with me as I explain it. Basically, what you've got here is you've got every nation in the game on the culture and decadence rating, and we can see here what nations have moved up with culture and which ones are kind of becoming like glorious nations, essentially. And down here, we can see decadence nations that are like down here at the bottom, they're decadence. And they're going backwards. So already we can see that there's a couple nations up here that have moved up and how many places they've moved up. So Rome's gone up plus 44. They've got a progress token. Carthage here has gone down plus 1. So they were 16. Now they're 17. But they have 4 progress tokens. So they're close to being a glorious republic. If we keep going down, we can see some of these places here like minus 24, minus 32. So there's a lot going on. And then if we come all the way down here, we can see some people plus 21, plus 15. They've risen out of this red area here. Red is a bad place to be, and you want to start trying to work your way out of it. So you can see that we actually have gone negative 52, which is really bad. We're down here in the red. This is pretty typical in my general experience when a player picks a faction that you usually go all the way down because you're just not getting a lot of the bonuses that the AI is getting, and you're not playing the same way. So usually, at least during my practice games, whenever I picked a nation, they always like went super far down, and then you got to kind of work your way. You got to work your way out of it, like some of these nations here are doing. And we actually picked up an aging token, which kind of sucks. I didn't realize that we had set ourselves up to do that, so we'll have to go ahead and do something to try and offset that. But you can see that the Sparta here is actually an old monarchy. I believe they're the only ones here that have gone that far backwards. Old. We do have Antigona's here, which is a glorious monarchy. So they've gotten 5 progress tokens, and now they're already back up to 3. And I believe if they are a glorious monarchy and they get another 5, then they advance even further, I think to another government type or something. It kind of expands out here. And then over here, we've got the legacy ranking. So this is basically how many legacy points you have. And you can see that Sparta has 10 and so on and so forth. I believe legacy points are pretty important for basically like achieving victory in the game. But you can burn through legacy points, like different decisions, or you could spend legacy points on certain things as well. It says legacy points are the measure on which your success or failure will be judged at the end of the game. Even if your nation doesn't endure the test of time, you might win the game if you manage to gather a lot of legacy points. Correspondingly, it's possible to not achieve a victory, even with a large portion of the map under your control, if you are only a rampaging horde of uncultured barbarians. So legacy points kind of allows you to play the game maybe a little bit more tall instead of trying to play wide, like in other grand strategy games where, other grand strategy games, the goal is always to acquire more land so you can get more powerful. In this game, you could build tall and still win the game. So that's kind of cool. You can see actually Sparta starts out with 10 legacy points, but it's very possible that they're still going to go backwards because of the fact that they are an old monarchy and they're starting to go down. So if we start seeing aging tokens for Sparta, they could potentially end up in a civil war. So yeah, a lot here and a lot of just really cool mechanics. So our nation has started regressing. Usumas, the culture of our nation is much too humble for your grandiose schemes. Dacia, civilization is regressing, aging tier reached. All right, so we can actually view that now. So stable, industrious, tribal chiefdom, but we've got an aging token, which is not good. So we're going to want to start balancing that. You can see it's crumbling here. Bottom tier, tokens -1, 35% chance to receive an aging token. And our legacy is falling behind, which is not good as well. So we're going to need to play around with this. And this ratio is 2.20, and we have actually really upped that a little bit. We want to get this lower. 77, we're 61 out of 77. 2.20 with 11 divided by 5. So we need to lower decadence. The nation's size, we got a status age penalty of -2, which is pretty good. Decadence change this turn is going to be +2. The nation's size definitely hurting us, so we probably don't want to grow any larger just yet. We need to increase our historical culture value so that we can get this number higher. Then divided by 5, it'll get this ratio higher. I think we need to be around a ratio of 4 to actually start reversing things. It's going to be pretty important. We do have objectives finally on the map. There's actually an objective here. If we didn't have objectives before, but if we had objectives, then we probably would have been better off. We might have gotten not gotten the agent token, or at least maybe canceled the aging token out with a progressive token or a progressing token. Where is it? So yeah, no good. Aging tokens -1. All right, so let's see. Our ruler Usumas decided that Carpia is the new objective to conquer, so he's decided that this is what we need to conquer. And it has been added to our nation. We took it from the grip of the Celtic independence. So we actually got this under control. A little bit of food, a little bit of money. It's got some growth as well. And we can build a building here. No infrastructure, though, I see, which is not good. But we could do the public works. That would give us infrastructure 5. So that's probably going to be the first thing we want to build. We don't want to build a pleasure house. That does increase decadence. So I think we'll go ahead and do the infrastructure building here. Now for here, we are still building the shepherd house. It's 2 away from being built. We're going to want to increase our culture somehow, some way, so we're not taking such a nasty hit. This does have a growth in 3 turns. This slave is on infrastructure. We could put him here on culture. That would produce more. Culture helps with region loyalty and also contributes to your progress. In the long term, accumulating culture will turn your region cultured, then refined, earning you extra legacy. Culture's pretty damn important. So I think because of the sawmill producing all this additional infrastructure, we could definitely drop this bad boy down there. We could even, let's see, growth in 3 turns. Then it would be growth in 5 turns, but that would give us a culture of 7. Growth in 5. I'd rather get the growth in not 2 turns, but I'd rather do, let's see, I don't want to collect both of you guys. I'd rather do the growth in 3 turns for now, because then I can drop him, you know, maybe back here in the Hunter Lodge or back in the food area. Or maybe into more culture, and I'll just leave this guy down here for the culture. I mean, we could swap. Let's see. Swap that. That gives us +5. Still growth in 3 turns, so that's a little bit better. Slaves just don't seem to produce as much. Plus, they produced unrest. Never good. So we could do that there. So culture +5. That should help a little bit. For here, nothing we can really do. This place is just barely surviving right now. Just barely surviving. All right. Let's see. We got 23 culture here. That's pretty good. It wouldn't hurt to get it up some more. We could always put a citizen down there. It will lower our infrastructure, so this will be built in 3 years instead of 2. But it would give us a culture of 28. So that should help us out a bit. 23 loyalty weighted culture production. Average of historical and current. We could eventually build a wonder when we're done with this. That would help as well. We're doing the infrastructure here, which is going to be important. Growth in 10 turns. And this is under pacification, which means this region is under pacification, and even if the people there start to accept the new ruler, disorganization is still affecting heavily the land, towns, and cities. So for 4 years, this place will get loyalty penalty, food penalties, and such. Eventually, it'll bounce back, though, once those 4 years are up. All right. All right, we are getting 1 legacy from objectives. So legacy from objectives +1 point, holding 1 of 2 objective regions, leading is Carthage with +3 points. And we can get legacy from some other stuff as well, but that'll take some time. We don't have any wonders or anything like that. There is wonders on the game you can get. All right, decadence change. So we got 2 decadence from the nation size. Nation is kind of big. I don't know if I want to go for another one just yet. I think I'd much rather head back. And then, let's see, these guys have adjusted to our leader, so that's very good. Now we have a combat power of 25. That's a lot better than it was before. We could get some more troops, plus 11 gold now because of the new region. But this would have an upkeep of 8. I think I'd rather wait till we get even more gold. See, we definitely can't move this guy out of here. And we definitely can't move this guy out. That's +7, but then no infrastructure, so that don't get built. And that's actually money 0 right now, which isn't bad. It'd be -6 if we moved him. But if we were to move him up here, we'd build this in 2 turns. Then we just take a gold hit for a little bit. I don't know. I think I like it the way it is right now. All right, so that little bit of culture should help us. Let's see, we got a health penalty of 5%. I'd like to see that go up, which I think we should be able to do. Loyalty 96 is really good. Legacy's falling behind, but I think we're going to up our legacy even more. If I go for another objective, it could help, but it also might affect our decadence. But I think I'm going to go for it, because it's possible that getting the objective will actually cancel out the token that we might get. So let's definitely push for that and see if it helps out some. We're pretty close to building a lot of this stuff. Is there any possible way that I could get this quicker? Probably not in one turn. I could risk get the 6 gold for a little bit. That only gives us +4, but then only 2 years of waiting. Why don't we do that? There's not a whole lot more to do, I guess. So we could advance into the next area. We could trade for some goods if we wanted to. We currently have a trade range of 3, which means we could trade within 3 lands of whatever land we're currently selected. Eventually, you could do things to up your trade range. There's not a whole lot of people to really trade with. Diplomacy, we could do diplomacy with some of these factions if we want to. Let's see, cooperation. As for cooperation, much less committing than an alliance. A cooperation treaty allows for a gradual improvement in relationship and more trading opportunities between the two countries. Sometimes a partner will share some intelligence on his realm. This translates to a more precise report on your cooperating partner in the ledger, but not to the extent of an alliance. So we could try to get some cooperation here, maybe. And maybe some cooperation here. We won't worry about anybody else just yet, because I kind of want to expand into some of these areas. So we'll go for those ones. Now you can see that there's certain things we can see around the world, like we can see that Macedonia has seized several dozen light ships owned by private merchants, so that was like a random event they got. They granted citizenship to foreigners, has decreed a new public works law. The condition for workers has worsened as a result. So there's all these different things. Some things we can see and some things we can't. It's basically like us receiving news of general stuff going around the world here. Well, we can see Rome. Looks like Rome has actually taken maybe a province here, or a land. And they've ordered the construction of aqueducts and sanitation networks. Sparta has conquered an area here. It's actually got a wonder. So that's kind of cool. So Sparta trying to expand back out. So there's certain things we can see, but there's a lot of information that's still not given to us, such as troop movement or other decisions that were made, etc., because we're basically consider it like we're just receiving news of what the general world looks like, but we just don't have a perfect picture of it unless we have an alliance or something and information flowing freely back and forth. So let's go ahead and end our turn again. All right, so this time it's a frontage of 6. Both of us have 8 units on the front here, so we're going to cover the entire frontage. This is a forest, I believe. Yeah, so it is a forest, so our heavy infantry will take a hit with clumsiness. They do got more combat power than us, but I'm confident because of our leader that we're going to be able to pull something off. So first and foremost, we've got a skirmishing here, the ranged phase. So they're targeting 3 of our units, and we're targeting 2 of theirs. And it worked out perfect. They actually didn't hit any of us, but we managed to exhaust a unit, so they're going to take... their effectiveness is lost. And then we tired a unit, so they've lost a little bit of effectiveness as well. So they won't be nearly as good. Once they get up here, they will have a harder time fighting us. Because they'll take a hit with their effectiveness. But unfortunately, you can see here where we might be in some trouble. They get a support bonus and a terrain defense bonus. Our clumsy took 2 away, so we actually... we're going to have to really count on our extra dice roll to pull this off. And did not work to our benefit there. We took some nasty hits. Oh, 5 and 3. So these guys with their defense bonus here. Whew. Or with their terrain defense bonus. Doing some damage to us. A little bit better there. I'm hoping the tired units we should be able to take out. Wow, they're really outrolling us here. That was a lot better. So taking out that one unit should help that much more. Battle ended in a draw. All right, so we did not win. They did lose the one unit. So we're still fighting, and that fight will continue if we don't win. And we actually lost the war. So we'll have to take a look at that and see. But it looks like we've moved up. So we're out of the red here, which is great. We still have the one aging token, but we're plus 13 up. And we're still a stable tribal chiefdom, so that's pretty good. Hopefully we'll be able to get rid of that aging token and start getting some progress tokens. But that's definitely good. That's good stuff. That's definitely the first thing you want to do is try to get out of the red and back up, hopefully eventually into the green. In terms of legacy points, we do have 2 now, so that's nice. But yeah, we got the crap beat out of us. So I let that skip by, and you can see that we've lost most of our army. So unfortunately, we're going to have to come back home and rest up, replenish our forces, which means we'll be spending money on getting our forces dealt with. How does the decadence look now? There's that 3.85 ratio. That's a lot better. We're going to need to get that higher, though. I'd like to get it up to 4. I think 4% is about where you need to be advancing forward. I'm almost positive that's where you need to be. So if we can get that up into 4, that'll be pretty good. Let's see. So ratio 3.85. Yeah, you can see that some of these areas here, they're in the ratio of the lowest, actually 3.63 is still above the red. So as long as we stay above, like somewhere above 3.6, 3.5 is red there, then that ratio, as long as we stay above that, we should stay in the white here, and then eventually move up into the green. But we just got to get rid of that aging token. Falling behind, but we didn't get an aging token, so that's pretty good. We had a 35% chance of getting it, and I actually thought that we probably would. Army shrinking count, though, no bueno. Let's see, decadence. So nation size 9 now. Decadence change did go up, but we've definitely changed our historical culture value, and that should continue to go up, especially if we're gaining legacies, which we now got 2 legacy points. So that helps us out as well. Where did that rank us? I wasn't paying attention to the legacy portion. I should have took a look. So we're 38. We're still at the bottom. We all got an income of 1. If we get an income of 2, that'd be great, but we didn't get our other objective. There's another objective here, but at this point, we got to go back and lick our wounds here. Unfortunately, fighting in the forest, terrible idea and a terrible mistake on my part, but I'm hoping we'll be able to build our army up some. Maybe a few more regular infantry. So they do have an upkeep of 8. Let's see here. And looking back here, so 1 more year and the shepherd house will be built. I know if I move this bad boy down, it's still going to stay a year, which is good now. So that gives us back up to plus 15 for cash. 2 more turns till this grows. 28. And 10 more turns till this grows. This will actually, once these 3 years are up, we do get the 25% food penalty gone. So this will probably grow even quicker after that. The public works, though, won't be built. So we'll have to wait. See, 16 turns. We'll have to wait until the penalty's up before we can mess with that. Ooh, the health of our ruler is degraded to fair. All right, age 42. So we might lose him soon, which means we may get somebody else up here, which I'm kind of hoping not, because the decadence gain reduced by 5% is kind of nice. But it's only a matter of time, I'd say. All right, let's go ahead and get another troop. That already puts us in minus 12 for military recruitment, but once he's recruited, we should be good. And then he's just going to have an 8 upkeep. And we'll have to get some other stuff as well. We don't have any light cavalry. They're pretty cheap. They only have an upkeep of 3. So they might not be bad to have as well. But that's going to put us in minus 26 for a bit. So let's just get the 1 unit here. And then we'll focus on the other ones. All right, we'll end it off here since we're out of time. Hopefully we can make a comeback and it's not too short of a series. I'm not sure if these guys are going to push out, give us a hard time. We do have these fortresses here, and I'd be surprised if they were able to take any of the forts out. They might be able to take this land from us, but I doubt it. I think we'll be okay. Once this grows in 2 more turns, we'll have a lot more potential to be able to do a few things. Maybe dump them into money and get some more cash flow. Meanwhile, we're going to be waiting the 3 years for this, and then hopefully that'll grow as well, which will be nice. Then we'll be able to put another building here. And I'm hoping to put somebody in infrastructure so we get the public works constructed. So that's what I'm waiting for there. And then we'll have the shepherd house. It's going to give us that bonus for food and some other stuff too. So that'll be great. With that being said, I want to thank you all for joining me. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you next time.